Pleasure for me to be here this evening, to be with you, see some old friends, again Smith, and of course Charlie Burnett. I don't want to name too many names because I'm going to leave somebody out. And Chazan Ralph Schlesberg, I haven't seen in a long time. I presume most of those who are sitting here today are members of the Chabad Council Chazonim. There's obviously a lot of talent in this room, and it's wonderful to hear and wonderful to see. I'm here for two reasons. First of all, I'm here as the educational component. Having been a teacher at the Bell School of Jewish Music at Yeshiva University for the last almost 30 years, I'm sort of academically connected to Chazanut and Tefillah, and perhaps I can give you some insights into what we're doing here. I was also asked to perhaps tell why I think I was able to survive as the Chazan, the only Chazan, for 51 years in my shul, Lincoln Square Synagogue. 51 years is a long time. I must have started when I was 2 or what makes it possible for an individual to last that long in a shul? Presuming that no one is tone deaf, of course. But certainly a prominent shul for 50 years, when I hope you'll take perhaps with you a few suggestions, a few positive suggestions. I also want to define what is a chazan. Is it chazonis? Is it nuschat tefillah? Is it nigudim? What makes a chazan today? Some of the things I may say may be a little controversial, but this is something I feel very strongly about. I'd like to tell you about it. Now, in actuality, I have a connection to Chabad. I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut. New Haven, Connecticut in the 1940s. One of the first yeshivas outside of New York was a Chabad yeshiva, Yeshiva Achet Tamimim Lubavitch, in New Haven, Connecticut. The first principal, I don't remember him, I was too young, was a fellow by the name of Rabbi Beryl Levy, who then went on, who left and decided to start a kashrut organization known as OK. He was the first principal. And after him came the person I remember for all the years that I was in that yeshiva, one of the 5 Hecht brothers. You know the Hecht brothers, J.J. Hecht, Avram Hecht. One of the younger brothers was Moshe Hecht, or as we knew him in New Haven, Maurice Hecht. He was the principal of the yeshiva there in New Haven. New Haven, by the way, was a little bit of a chazonish town, believe it or not. Many years before, they had a chazan for many years known as Chazan Malavsky. He was in New Haven, Connecticut for a long time. He was in the Rose Street Shul, which I sang in that shul as in the choir when I was a kid. Also had Chazan Ratzvilver. I don't know if anybody knew Chazan Ratzvilver, one of the last of the Boliner Chazonim, and I sang in his choir when I was a kid. And I began to love chazonis by being in the choir and listening to these wonderful chazonim sing. I knew nothing about it. Look, it's a small town, New Haven, Connecticut. What did I know? I knew how to sing in a junior congregation. I don't know beyond that very much. My mother, by the way, used to sing me to sleep at night with the Yesela Zelokai Neshama. Maybe that's what did it. I don't know. I can't tell you. Also, my Uncle Sam, whose mother, that means my grandmother, my great-grandmother, was a Lubavitcher, came from a Lubavitcher family. So he taught me my first nuschat tefillah, and he taught me a Kokeli, which I sing to this day at Lincoln Square, although I won't be singing anymore because I'm retiring this year. You probably won't recognize it, but of course he sang it as a happy song. Kokeli v'goali es yatzvoli krosecho oyavi yehove kogoyan mosecho nisaveda. We sing that all the time, right? It was only later that I found out that this is a nigun dvekas of Chabad, which goes a little bit different. Ay, 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 right, right. Ay, 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 since he had Chabad background, he took this niggin, and he sort of picked up the tempo and made it into a kalkeli. And I didn't realize that for at least 20 years. Also, then when I went to yeshiva, I went to yeshiva high school, I went to Torah Das, and I lived in the home of the Boston Rebbe, and that's the first time I really heard the Dvekus Tikadavan. Tremendous Dvekus Tikadavan, and the Boston Rebbe was a tremendous Baal Tefillah, and I learned a lot from him what the neshama of davening is all about. By the way, the Boston Rebbe, when he lived in Crown Heights for a couple of years, lived in the house right next to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The house right next door, the mansion on the President's. I remember living on the third floor on a Shabbos, and we'd see the Rebbitzin zipping out of the driveway with a two-tone cream color Cadillac pick up the Rebbe after Shabbos. Very exciting to see. And I went off to Yeshiva University, and I went to Bell School, and I discovered what Nusach HaTfilah is all about. That there is such a topic as Nusach HaTfilah as a study, as an academic study. And I eventually got a degree in Jewish music in cantorial music there. And I now teach there, of course, along with Chazan Malavani and other very fine Chazan. When I decided that this was going to be my profession, originally I wanted to be a psychologist. Rabbi Riskin one day gave me a call that he was starting a shul in the Midtown Manhattan, and he talked me into trying out to become the Chazan for the first year. At the new shul, he needed someone who would be able to get his Balabatim, who basically were conservative reform background, get them to sing. And I was a guitar player, Chazan guitar player. I was a singer, actually, a folk singer. You sing for SDSY and so on and so forth. He wanted that type of thing. But I decided I had to learn what this was all about. This wasn't good enough just to sing Nigunim. I studied Chazanis with Chazan Genshev, Moshe Genshev, the great Chazan Moshe Genshev. I had discussed the study with him for a year. And then with one of the greatest Nusach experts in the world today, that is Chazan Noach Shol. I studied with him for a number of years. What I wanted to achieve was, yes, I knew Chazan. I loved Chazan. I listened to records. My mother sang it to me in Detroit. But I wanted to, if this is going to be my craft, my profession, I wanted to know what it was really about. And I went to Noach Shol and I said to him, look, you teach people Chazanas. He says, all right, Chazanas I can get from a record. You can write, you can tutor me how to do it better or worse. But I want to become one of the best Bali Tefillah that there are. I don't want you to teach me Chazanas, I want you to teach me Nusach. I want you to teach me the Nusach the way that our Eltera Zaydas, the previous generations, the way they davened in shul. That's what I want to learn. I want to become the best Baal Tefillah that I can become. And we went through everything through the entire year. Anything that was no good, we marked, we fixed, we made recommendations. I cannot tell you how important that was to me for my profession. I began to realize and understand that Chazanis is simply an extension, an embellishment of the Nusach. If Chazanis is not based on the Nusach, it is not worth 2 cents. You have to know the Nusach. If you know the Nusach, then you can create a cantorial piece. All the great cantorial pieces were based on Nusach. The Stam take a piece and starts just Stam with the Weltrein. Creating a Chazanish piece doesn't work. You have to know what the Nusach is, the essential Nusach. That's the basis of Chazanish. And if it doesn't have that Nusach basis, it's not good Chazanish. So it's incumbent upon all of us, I think, to become experts in Nusach HaTfilah. Now, if you look, where does this come from? How do we know? Well, you look in the Shulchan Aruch. I haven't looked at the Shulchan Aruch Harav, so I have to apologize. But certainly in the Shulchan Aruch, or Chaim, Tafresh Tes, quotes the Ramah. Every time he speaks about tefillah, he quotes the Maril. Maril in parentheses, Maril in parentheses, Maril in parentheses. Maril was chief rabbi of the Rhineland, 1365 to 1427. He created Nusach Ashkenaz. He's the one who standardized it. He decided what was real and what was not real. He had the advantage of having people ran from all over the world to the Rhineland because of the Crusades. He was able to examine. He was a Chazan himself. Not only was he chief rabbi, but he was also a Chazan. And he was the one who standardized most of our nuschos that we have today. We call them Nigunei Maril, or Skarbova Nigunim, or Misinai Nigunim. It all comes from the Maril. And the Ramah quotes the Maril, Ein l'shanos minig ha'ir afilu b'nigunim. You cannot change the minig of a community even as to its nigunim. Now we're talking about 500 years ago, the Ramah. We're not talking about Lubavitch, and we're not talking about Mudjitz, and we're not talking about Karbach. We're talking about the way we daven. The way we daven, you cannot change the way we daven in the community. Our community is the East European community, and we transplanted it here in America, and we follow the East European style, and it cannot be changed. In fact, the Mata Ephraim says on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Yim Yidmeh Lo, Shanigunim Shalo. If he thinks that his nigunim, Yoter Arev Me'anigunim Hanahugim, if he thinks his nigunim, his own personal nigunim, are better than the original, than the real nigunim, Nenash Mishamayim Alzeh, he says, the Mata Ephraim. You'll be punished by heaven. He's talking, of course, about the holy Misinai Nigunim, the Schatfila that we know. You can't change Chol Nidra. Can't even change Achil Akel. By the way, that's one of the things I'm a little concerned about. I know Achil Akel has now become a very popular nigun in Israel today. Achil Akel. Right? That's a beautiful tune. But there is a nusach. That nusach you can't change. That nusach is called Rishus. You ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu Rishus, permission to insert piyutim into our tefillah, and Yochil you can't change that. You can't change it. That's unchangeable. That's immutable. You hear the same thing at the beginning in Shachris. That place too. There's certain things we cannot change. We have to be aware of this. We have to know where we can change and where we cannot change, where we can put chazanas, where we can't put chazanas. Can't just sing chazanas for everything. And that's another problem. Most of us are tied to chazanas because we love it. I love it. I love it as much as anyone else. You have to be practical. Now, what's a chazan? So what's a chazan? A chazan is about tefillah, shliach tzibur. He's not a performer. If you're a performer, you don't belong in shul. You have to be sincere. You have to be davening that Kodesh Baruch Hu. You have to be davening for your tzibur. Yes, there are moments when the chazan does perform. Shabbos chazonis, concerts, tonight. Yeah, that's nice. That's wonderful. We enjoy it. This is something we really love. No reason why we shouldn't do it. But primarily, we Chazanim are leaders of prayer. We're Balei Tefillah. We have to be very aware of that. Now, how did I last 50 years in my shul? Number one, you have to understand that a lot of Chazanim don't always understand this. After all, we are Chazanim, we are artists. The rabbi is number one. The board is number two. The chazan is not number one. The chazan should do what the rabbi wants him to do and what the board wants him to do. As long as they don't contravene halacha, he's the boss. You can't fight with the rabbi. I've gone through 50 years of seeing how chazanim have dealt with rabbanim. It is maybe 1 in 100 cases that I've ever heard of where the rabbi lost, the chazan won. The chazan cannot win this one. The rabbi is your boss. You do what the rabbi wants.